everyone, I wanted to make this video to walk you through using Gavel's new PDF tagger. And I wanted to also clarify that it is very hard to convey excitement when you are just a little bubble in the corner of someone's browser. But I am very, very excited about this new feature. I think it makes automating PDFs so much easier, so much more efficient, and it also makes it more fun, I would say. I did want to also call out the reason why you want to automate PDFs in certain instances is really for folks who are automating court forms, other documents where the formatting of the document needs to be exact to the original, or it's going to be very heavily scrutinized by the end reviewer in either which way. You just want it to be exact to the original. And with this new upgrade to the PDF tagger, the PDF automation is so much easier. Like I said, it's really the way to go, I think. And it's rapidly becoming one of my favorite ways to automate documents, I would say, which might be a hot take in the world of automation, but I really do think that that's true. All right. So you might notice that I'm not actually on the PDF tagger on the screen, and that is because your first step when you are going to be automating PDFs is to actually go to the PDF unlocker. And you might notice that the document that I uploaded is already unlocked, whether that be because it wasn't locked in the first place, or I already ran it through Adobe Acrobat to unlock it. Either which way, I still do need to unlock it. And I'll show you why in just a second. And don't worry, I will put the link to the PDF unlocker in the caption for this video as well. Might take a second to load here. Okay. So this interface might be familiar to those of you who have used Adobe Acrobat to use their Prepare Form tool. And it works very similarly. You can adjust the font or the font size of all the fields. You can add more fields. For example, if you needed to get a signature for some reason at the bottom here, or if you wanted to add a field so that you can label it for your practice area or for your firm, you can definitely do that. But another thing that I want to make sure that folks do when they unlock their PDF is really go through all of the fields that it registers as being fillable on the PDF and make sure that the fields are named something that makes sense to you. And this is really to help you out when you're automating your PDF. So for example, you can see this box here is supposed to be the case number, but for some reason when it registered or unlocked the PDF, it named it this super long thing that is very unnecessary. So I'm going to go over here to the side and rename it case number. And after I type, all I'm doing is hitting enter so that it saves it and it updates that preview there. Another one right here. And a nice shortcut is actually renaming the fields, the variable that you want to go in there. So I actually have my workflow on my second monitor so I can double check the variable names. And that's just a good practice as well for when you're automating PDFs, and you'll see why later. Again, I'm renaming this one as well, just so it's something. So when I'm done doing that, all I have to do is click on Finish and Download, and it's going to save it to my computer. I've already done that in this case, but regardless, when you are done with this, that's the document that you're going to use as your template in Gavel's PDF tagger. I'm going to click on Document Templates and this Attach Template to Workflow. And again, like I said, I've uploaded it already, so I'm just going to click it from these available documents. But you can also click to upload or drag and drop. All right, so once that's uploaded, you're going to hit this tag button, and you can see this very familiar little preview of your PDF. So when you click into this, you'll see that there are several different options here on the right-hand side with a drop-down. So the untagged means exactly what it says on the tin. It's just not going to fill in with any of the information from your workflow, and that might be because you need to leave that field blank. For example, this date received by court is probably going to be left blank because the court's going to fill that out once it receives that document, so I can just leave it alone. But for something like this, I have several different options here. I can enter text, which means that it's always going to be the same text every time I output the document. This is never going to happen for this case, but let's just say maybe it's always going to be John Doe. And then I would just type that in, and you can see it updates that preview as well. Now, most likely you're going to be using this insert variable option, and that's to grab your variables from your workflow. And again, that's why I say it's easier to have your workflow open in another screen or on another tab so you can click back and forth and double check what those variables mean. Folks who follow along with my Gavel courses on how to automate documents or who work with me know that I am a big proponent of having your variable names be very consistent syntax and also be short and sweet and to the point. So you know exactly what you're getting into when you grab it for automating your documents. You can see there that it's just going to output that petitioner name. For checkboxes, the PDF tagger is a huge upgrade over the old way to do it, and you might remember in the olden days of having to toggle back between Adobe Acrobat and Gavel to automate your PDF, that sometimes checkboxes would be not even when they output, they wouldn't be in the right place in the checkbox there on the form, or they'd be too big for the checkbox or too small or off to the side or whatever. Now the PDF tagger does resize it accordingly, so that's really nice. And it also registers that this is a checkbox, so you'll see here when I go over here, I'm going to click on Insert Conditional Value. I can select my yes/no variable that I have in my workflow, and this interface might be familiar to those of you who have worked a lot with conditional logic in Gavel. When this is yes, this field will be checked, and that's all I have to do to make sure that checkboxes work. And you can see also that once I've automated or tagged something in the PDF document, it turns this field yellow. So that's how I know that I've already worked with it. I'm just going to do the same thing for this checkbox. And it's supposed to be checked when the person selects I don't know, and so on. One more time, just to make it easier for you all to see. This field will be checked when this variable is no. All right. So you might notice there is a field over here. So if the person does not speak English, the form wants to gather the other language that they speak. And you might think, okay, well, I can use this insert conditional value and select that if this person selects no, then it should enter that variable. So for those of you who can read code, you can look in over here, and I'll actually zoom in. And you can see it's already started to put quotation marks, and that's the first sign that something is going to go wrong here. If I were to put the variable for this other language that's not English that I'm gathering in the workflow here, it's going to put it within those question marks, and that means it's actually just going to output the code straight away, and it's not going to output the actual value. What does that mean? Here. So my other variable is called petitioner language, and in all other cases English, because then they would be speaking English. I'll show you how it actually outputs it. I'm just going to run this really quickly, go back to my regular size browser. And we'll just pick Spanish. Okay, so in that field, because I selected that the person does not speak English, we wanted to output Spanish. And you'll see when I open this PDF up, instead of outputting Spanish, it outputs the actual code that I put in. And again, that's because I put quotation marks around that. And that's a built-in feature of the PDF tagger. So when you click on Insert Conditional Value, it's really expecting that you're going to put text in here and have conditional text show up depending on a variable. So how do you get the variable to show up in that case? What you're actually going to do is click on Enter Text, and this allows you to put in whatever code that you need to. And another helpful link that I will add to the caption of this video is a link to the Gavel help guide. And they don't explicitly say this in the Gavel help guide, but this is my tip from me to you. This field, text based on prior answers, it's an entry that's supposed to be about showing your previous answers in the text of your workflow. So for questions, if you wanted to show someone's name and ask about them directly, that kind of thing. But it is the same syntax as your PDF tagger. So you can actually copy and paste what it says right here. I'm going to go back in here. Again, I have selected Enter Text. I'm going to copy and paste that, and then I can put in my variable petitioner language. And let me just double check what my variable name was, is no, else output, and you can leave it as blank if you want it to be like that, or you can just put in the word English. And what this reads is, it's going to output this other language if petitioner English yes no is no, otherwise it'll put in English because that'll mean that the person speaks English. I'm going to save it. And one thing that I wanted to bring up is that just like the rest of automating with Gavel, it doesn't save automatically. So before you close out that little tagging window, you're going to want to hit that purple save every time. See, and it'll have that pop up. All right, let's try running this again. And now you see it outputs Spanish instead of that code. So besides that little hiccup where you are going to have to custom code certain aspects of the document depending on what you want to do, the tagger is relatively straightforward. You can click through and just pop in all of your variables, so it does go pretty fast other than having to enter that text. And again, I am going to have the link to that in the caption of the video. One last thing before I leave you is that if you need to update the file for this PDF for whatever reason, as we all know, courts like to update their forms randomly throughout the year, all you have to do is click on this little cycling icon and then drag and drop or click to upload that new PDF. And as long as the file remains the exact same, as in the file name, remains the exact same, you won't have to redo your tagging. It'll keep all of the tagging and just adjust accordingly. But if you change the name of the file, you will have to redo all of your work. So that's just something to be aware of when you're working with this. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you all automate. All right, thank you so much for watching.